Hey, what's up? This is Chosen, and this video is going to be diving into if the monthly raid cards are worth it. So let's get into it. Alrighty, so I'm actually surprised. I've never really looked into this and really done a deep dive discussion into talking about if this is worth it, because I really love the data and the numbers and spending efficiently. So I'm kind of surprised. I've never took a deep dive. I've spent a little bit of time off camera thinking about this and plugging things into my offer calculator and really trying to figure out if this is worth it and who it is worth it for. Surprisingly, I've always kind of had the sentiment of advising people that it is worth it, because it happens a lot when I'm on stream. Someone will show up and be like, "Hey, I just started playing Raid, my first time on your stream. I'm wondering, is the raid card worth it? Should I subscribe to that? Should I pay the $10 monthly thing or the $50 for the 6-month?" And I've always just kind of had the blanket statement of, yeah, it's worth it. If you're the type of person to spend money, it's $10 well spent. It's 20% extra XP and 20% extra silver from your battles. So yeah, it's money pretty well spent if you're the type of person who's in the market to spend money on a mobile game. Why not 20% faster progress and some extra multi-battles for those people that use the multi-battles a lot. If you don't play on PC, the multi-battles have a lot more value because it's a lot harder to set up an auto clicker on mobile devices than it is on PC, where you can set up something to grind overnight by having your keyboard spam the R key overnight and stuff. So the multi-battles tend to have a lot more value for most people if they don't have access to PC or if they spend most of their time on a mobile platform. But the funny thing is, and the funny thing how the brain works is, it's been so long since I was a new player, and it's been so long since I actually took the time to read the offer and rethink if it's money I should spend, because the way my brain has always kind of worked is I got in the habit when I was new of paying for the raid card, and I just kind of fell into the thought process of, I'm an active raid player, I'm a content provider, I'm just gonna have the raid card. Like, it is what it is. That's $10 a month I'm going to spend because it just makes sense to progress faster in the game. If I'm gonna be an active raid player, I might as well have the raid card. It's money well spent to progress faster and get the extra multi-battles and all that. But in the year or so that's gone by since I was a new player, now I'm a pretty endgame player. I'm not a new player. I haven't really actually read this. I thought over the course of time, my brain shifted to thinking it's 20% XP and 20% silver from all battles. But that's actually not true. I haven't actually sat down and read the offer. I just always resubscribe, or I'm always re-upping every month on the offer instead of actually reading it. So I've thought for a while now it's all battles, but it's actually only campaign battles. And so that got me thinking, like, wait a minute. Once you're an endgame player, like, you don't really spend much time in the campaign. You're typically, once you've got a bunch of 6-star champions and you've got your dungeon teams pretty optimized, most of your time is spent focusing on dungeons and the arena and the clan boss. You don't really truly level up champions and farm the campaign, and especially grind it for thousands of energy anymore. Once you are end game and you've got like 40, 50 6-star champions, you don't spend that much time in the campaign. So I got to thinking, how much time would a player have to spend in the campaign? How much energy would a player have to spend in the campaign to make that $10 worth it? So basically, it's just 20% extra energy. So what I can do is calculate how much energy is worth $10, because it's basically just making your energy more impactful by 20%, because you get the extra XP and the extra silver. You can argue that it ends up being a little bit more of a bonus if you hit a certain threshold. And so you can argue that if you hit certain thresholds properly, while you have certain buffs live and you have the double XP live and all that, there's certain thresholds you can hit where it actually saves you a run and it's very impactful. So It's not always exactly 20% because of certain thresholds you can hit, but you can basically just call this a 20% bonus to energy. And you can argue that it's time that you save as well because you're leveling up faster and all that. So you can add a little bit to it, but it's mainly just a 20% energy bonus basically once you are farming the campaign efficiently. So when I was kind of plugging things in, the value point where the raid card becomes worth it, in my opinion, is if you are spending about 300 or 400 energy a day in the campaign, then it's probably worth it. It comes out to about a 1.9 to a 2.0, somewhere in there on my offer calculator, which typically the 2.0 offers are the ones that grade out as great offers and the ones that I typically buy. So that threshold ends up being about 300 or 400 energy a day. Now, a free-to-play player is going to usually get about 600 or 700 energy depending on events that are live, and that might not be an exact number, but it's somewhere around 700 energy. If you're staying below max, letting your energy regenerate, you're doing your daily quests, you're claiming your free refills every day for doing the simple stuff in the game and hitting the playtime threshold, that's about how much energy you're going to get, is about 600 or 700 a day, somewhere in there as a free-to-play player. So when you're new, if you're getting 700 energy a day, you're probably spending like 500 of that in the campaign. You're spending most of your time grinding XP and farming up those basic sets to put on your champions, like you're grinding the lifesteal stage and the speed stage to get those introductory speed and lifesteal pieces. So for new players who do spend money on raid, it's well worth it. You're definitely going to hit that bonus. You're spending at least 300 energy a day in the campaign, but your playtime and where you spend your time playing the game switches. It basically flip-flops. When you're new, it's about 90% of your time in the campaign and 10% of your time doing other stuff. When you're an endgame player, like you get to the point where I'm at in the game, it basically just swaps, and it's 90% of your time in dungeons and 10% of your time in the campaign, which is, you know, my energy mostly goes towards dungeons and grinding that gear, grinding that silver, and really leveling up how powerful my champions are in terms of their gear because they're maxed out. They don't need more XP. And this really is genius design in terms of how Plarium set it up, because as humans, we are very much creatures of habit, or at least the vast majority are. Like me, I got in the habit of paying for the raid card, and I just always assumed it was worth it back when I was a new player. It's still worth it now. I'm just going to keep buying it. And I got in that habit for like a year and a half, and I quit even reading the offer. I just, every month I renew it. Boom, I don't even read what it says. It was worth it back then, it's worth it now, and I buy it. But actually, for someone like me, I probably average about 100 to 150 energy a day in the campaign, and I don't use the multi-battles because I run on a PC for the majority of the time, and I set up like an auto clicker overnight if I want to run the dragon overnight or something, or if I want to Minotaur grind somebody, I have an auto clicker on the PC. I really don't use the multi-battles that often, hardly at all. I don't think I've used the multi-battles in like 2 or 3 months. So honestly, for someone like me who's barely ever in the campaign and who doesn't use the multi-battles, I would be much better off spending $10 on shards, energy, and gems as opposed to the raid cards. So it actually becomes a conundrum. I may be better off just spending that money elsewhere and saving it, because as an endgame player, I'm not in the campaign very often. But yeah, it is genius design because it gets you in the habit of buying it, because it's a great $10. Like if you're gonna spend $10 on raid as a new player, the raid card is a great purchase, and it's very much worth it because, like I said, all of your energy is going in the campaign. And then once you're in the habit of buying it, you become someone like me who just buys it every month and doesn't really think about it because it was worth it back then, so it's probably worth it now. And what they've done to combat that and make it worth it for more endgame players was add the multi-battle attempts to it. But with how good the PlariumPlay Client is, and with, you know, lots of your endgame players are gonna have access to a PC or a laptop or something and be able to set, like if someone's a dedicated raid player who's been active for 6 months to a year and they spend money on the game, I would guess that there's a pretty large percentage of them that have access to an auto clicker in terms of running dungeons overnight and grinding gear that way. Not everybody, but I bet a large percentage of the players that are active in raid and dedicated to the game have that set up. So they added the multi-battles to help the raid card hold value when you flip-flop and when you're doing mainly dungeons. Boom, you get the multi-battles that can help you grind those dungeons. And that may be a reason why, if you remember, when multi-battles first came out, you could not use them in dungeons. It was just a campaign mechanic, but this may have came up in a discussion at some point at Plarium about getting this raid card to hold value once a player's priority flip-flops into not really involving as much of the campaign. The multi-battles can fill that void, but I would like to see a little bit more. I would like to see what I would do if I had a voice in the room there. I would make the gold raid card all battles, and I would make the silver raid card campaign battles, because if it was extra XP and extra silver from all battles, now this is something that I think an endgame player who spends most of their time out of the campaign would still be very interested in terms of getting further ahead in the silver grind. And then a lot of people nowadays, the hot trend is leveling up food in your dungeon teams once you've got them very optimized. Like what I do is I run the dragon with 3 champions that do it in 50 seconds to 1 minute, and then I bring along 2 food champions to leech XP in my dragon runs. So I do my dragon runs in 1 minute instead of 40 seconds, but I can also level up food in the process, so that trade-off is worth it. So I don't need to go into the campaign and waste my time just getting XP and not getting gear. I can switch my energy to getting gear and XP at the same time. So that's kind of becoming a hot trend, but among endgame players, is using dungeons as an opportunity to keep your food backbone of your account up and running and healthy with champions ready to be ranked up when that time comes and you need to level someone. But yeah, guys, it's just a discussion I wanted to have, and I'm actually surprised with the type of channel I run in terms of really analyzing and trying to play efficiently, that I never did a video on this topic. So I really wanted to get this discussion started and kick it off with you guys and get the ball rolling on what I think. I think it's definitely worth it for a new player who spends money on raid. It's $10 well spent in terms of progressing 20% faster basically, and then getting access to a lot of extra multi-battles, which can be very handy. Like if you're at work or something, you can set up your phone, do your auto battles, and then you can just put your phone away for an hour or two and let it run and do some auto battles while you're at work. And then when you get off work, you can check and see what you got. So there are opportunities where the multi-battles really shine, and that is a daily bonus. So if you're doing the multi-battles every day for the course of a month, that can really pay off and help you progress your account faster. So I think if you're the type of player that really takes advantage of the multi-battles, it is worth it. But if you spend the majority of your time using auto clickers and your end game, and only about 10% of your time is in the campaign, all of a sudden it becomes hard to justify the raid card. So I'm hoping if we shed some light on this and start discussing this, that maybe they'll bump up this raid card or juice up the gold card to make it a little bit more worth it, because I'm honestly, now that I'm looking at it, I'm wondering if it's $10 that I'm not really getting any value out of. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. I always enjoy reading your input, even if I don't reply to every comment. I do try to scroll through and see what your guys' sentiment is, and stop by and let me know on stream. We'll talk about it, and I'll read your comments and stuff. So I always enjoy hearing your input, and as always, thank you for watching. Have a good rest of your day. Peace.